Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
There you are.
There
Good
we
morning,
go.
sir.
Good morning.
How are we? Wonderful to see you. You're looking bright and breezy. How's life treating you, Mr. Fettis?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a good week. I think I've been doing pretty much what I was doing last week. I'm knocking scripts off, so I'm now down just to one script left to look at because I've been learning new scripts for dining shows, for interactive shows. So I've had those, and I've got done that one. Just got the one left to learn now. So
this one is the big one, isn't it? This is now.
Well, this is the one for summer. Yes. So yeah. So for Gaslight, a lovely play called Gaslight, in which I play. I think I might have mentioned I play the older character this time rather than the younger character. Time moves on for all of us. So
sorry, you're playing an older character.
Yes, shut up. Yes, you know very well I'm playing.
Didn't say anything at all. Just getting you to repeat that. You're playing an
older character.
Yes,
the character actor's role in this.
Yeah. What's that like? I've never. I mean, ironically, I have. I played the Squire in Beauty and the Beast, so an old man there, and equally the show I've got coming up, I mainly play sort of the lead, the titular character, but I also play his best friend. I think we were obviously talking to Andy last week, weren't we?
Yeah.
And in the show that I'm performing that he's directing, I also play the father of the best friend who is elderly. So I may have to ask you for some tips there on how to look old, because you do it so well, mate. But I'm sensing that yeah.
No, you carry on because I'm storing this up, my friend.
Well,
I'm storing this up.
I wasn't sure for a moment there if Zoom had frozen or if you were just giving me evils. I think it was the
I was just seeing how far you might go.
Cheers, good to see you.
Cheers, matey. Cheers. Yeah, there we go.
But yeah. So that aside, we've obviously both had busy weeks learning and prepping and stuff because we're both about to do these massive summer. Well, for me, tour. For you, it's residential. But either way, big summer shows. But the industry is not just about us, Drewsy. It's not far from just about us, although Drewling Samantics is mainly just about us because it's just us talking. But so come on, you are our expert in the field of what is going on. So have you got some updates and some news from the performance industry, please?
Well, just one little bit of news, and we've seen we've had lots of lovely guests on and we are ourselves involved in pantomime, and it's been the Pantomime Awards this week.
Course, yeah.
And it was just, I mean, the loads of previous guests that we've had on were there, and some have actually won awards. But there's one thing that came out of it. I was reading an article saying that of all, and theatre is an inclusive world, and we pride ourselves on the doors are wide open for everyone, but pantomime in particular has been singled out in an article in The Stage this week as one of the most inclusive and diverse and most welcoming of theatre genres.
Yeah,
which I read the article, and it's a fabulous article and very fabulous, but it's not anything that people in the business didn't already know, but it just for me highlights how pantomime is important. But also it does convey a social message. It does have a lot to say, and that it is still, people say, it's an old-fashioned thing, or it's still politically very relevant. And it still has something to say, and in its very core, it's saying something. I read that article with great joy, and also congratulations to all the winners at the Pantomime Awards. And my very old dear friend of mine, Ben Roddy, got Best Dame. So well done, Ben.
Oh, fantastic. Nice. I mean, as you said, we a lot of our previous guests were there. So I know Tyler Marlowe was there, Jamie Riding was there, Crazy Kev, he was there. So and I actually went the year before I didn't get a chance to go this year, but yeah, no.
Me either.
So it and it's such a community feel. I mean, theatre always is because 3 degrees of separation. Everyone knows someone who knows
Absolutely.
someone, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. But it was just an amazing feeling to see lots of familiar faces there and to be able to celebrate together. So I'm sure this year's was equally, if not better than last year's. And before we jump onto your next news thing, speaking of awards, we obviously had the Tony Awards, didn't we?
Of
A week
course. Yes.
ago, was it, or just over a week ago?
Yeah.
So congratulations to any Tony winners. But I think particular mention should go to Merrily We Roll Along, which won lots of awards, and the one that sort of stands out, and not that he needs any more plaudits, but the amazing Daniel Radcliffe, Mr. Harry Potter himself, who won. He won the best performance by an actor in a featured role. So congratulations to Daniel Radcliffe. Congratulations to the rest of the cast and crew of Merrily We Roll Along, and to all the other things: The Outsiders, Stereophonic, Hell's Kitchen. I'm trying to remember who else won stuff. I can't remember off the top of my head. Appropriate, I think. Incredible show.
Appropriately, yes. Yeah.
I think that was Sarah Paulson, who obviously is another massive Hollywood star. She won Best Actress for that. So yeah, huge congratulations to anyone nominated or indeed that won Tonys. Obviously, Google for the full list of winners. We'd be here all day if we went through every award ceremony and named everyone. But yeah, just thought I'd bring that in, seeing as we did something slightly closer to home, and then I thought I'd go a bit more global, shall we say?
You mentioned there Hollywood star, and as is something we do regularly, as we pay homage to someone we lost. We have to say we couldn't not mention the passing of the wonderful Donald Sutherland.
Yes, indeed.
Who I don't know. I was, a couple of his films are amongst my sort of desert island films. You know, the 10 favorite films. But someone described him. It was a director who worked with him, James Gray, and I think a fascinating, fabulous character actor, Donald Sutherland, and known for films way back in the 70s, but also, you know, known to modern audiences, younger audiences, because of his appearances in the Hunger Games.
Yes, indeed.
As probably one of my favorite villains for donkey's years. He was brilliant.
He just knew how to be a villain, didn't he?
Didn't he just? Fantastic. But James Gray, I've got a list, and they're not in any chronological order, but he was in the Dirty Dozen, Don't Look Now, Hunger Games, MASH, Kelly's Heroes, Clute, and one of my very, very favorite sci-fi horror films from 1978, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which I think they made a remake, I think about 10 or 12 years ago. Was it, who did that? Was it Jeff Goldblum? 2007, I think it was. Invasion or something. It's a remake.
Can't remember. But yes, indeed. No, Donald Sutherland, an unbelievably talented actor.
Brilliant actor.
And you only have to look at the tributes. I mean, it was it a week ago he passed, or a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah.
But you just have to look and see on social media the outpouring of tributes from people, including probably the most poignant one. And I'm sure he would say his biggest achievement, Donald Sutherland would say his biggest achievement in acting was probably fathering another stunning actor, Keith Sutherland, who himself is unbelievable. And he put a beautiful tribute out to his dad. And yeah, just we always try and mention the big losses to the industry. Not that any loss is big or small, but I think his will be felt for a long, long time. And again, looking at
it was just people, one of those outsiders. He played all these crazy characters and created some iconic moments in films. And one of my favorites is everything seems normal at the end of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and he suddenly points and makes this incredible scream. And I was reading about that, and they were saying in creating those screams, they actually used the screams of pigs squealing.
Really?
And it went through a sound producer, whatever, FX, and they changed the pig squeal into these screams, and it's seeing him pointing into the middle distance and screeching. It's like, oh God, it was a fantastic end to the film. But I was going to this little quote. and it said he loved cinema and would often talk to directors. And a guy called James Gray, who directed him in Ad Astra, he said Donald Sutherland on film was fucked up, but fucked up is drama, and that's he said that's how he sussed out. He said that's all I can say about Donald Sutherland. He brought drama. So yeah. So
and absolutely, and as you say, it spanned many generations of.
Oh God, yeah,
yeah, just an enormous loss to the industry. So a big cheers to Mr. Donald Sutherland. Thank you for everything you did, and our thoughts to all your family and friends.
And another quite and I'm not a greatly well known actor, but in a franchise of films that was hugely successful was Pirates of the Caribbean. And if anybody's been listening to their radio or TV or having a look on social media, they would have known a wonderful actor.
I know what you're going to say.
Called I believe I'm getting his name. I hope I'm getting the pronunciation. Is Tamayo Perry, who was in Pirates of the Caribbean, and he had a great look. He was always, he played
one of the Buccaneers, wasn't he?
He was a Buccaneer, and he had a great, vicious pirate look, and he was fabulous. And he was also his background was as a lifeguard. They said he was described as a man of the sea, and a huge contribution to the local community, and looked after people. Man of a big heart. And I think, tragically, ironically, sadly, the man died in a shark attack, which that it makes it's an intake of breath. Because when I read it, it was like, oh God, it doesn't matter who you are. That's a dreadful way to go. But the irony of a man so involved. But somebody else has said, well, in a way, it was only fitting that the sea would take him in some form.
The sort of live by the sea, die by the sea kind of thing. Which is it's enormously tragic, as you say, and incredibly sad. So another loss to the industry that will be felt perhaps in different ways, but to the family and friends, no smaller, no larger. So yeah, another one that we raise a glass to.
Raise a glass.
Taken too soon, and thank you for what you did.
Now, I'm not going to say this. I'm going to mention an incident because we've spoken about things that happen on the stage. And that affect performances, and it can't go without comment that the wonderful, the incredible Sir Ian McKellen took a tumble off the stage in Player King. And if anyone's seen Player Kings, his performance is just extraordinary. It blows everything and everybody out of the water, and you watch him and you go, yeah, it's just a fantastic performance. And understand, I believe he was. I don't know, because obviously details we're not going to misquote. But he's had to pull out the plays, because of this. Now, the simple fact that the man he's 85 years of age and he's standing on stage performing in the West End in Shakespeare, giving full stuff, which is not an easy bloody role to do, and storming and wiping the stage with everything and every line and that. And now, I think it's he's probably sitting somewhere going, don't fucking worry about me, get on with the show, because that's the sort of guy he is.
Or more, so I can only wish accurately, he's probably going, oh, for fuck's sake, I want to get back out there. Can I go back out there yet? Let me get back out. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, so we can only wish him a really speedy recovery and return to the stage in whatever form that would make. But it does move me on to we've talked about mishaps and things happening. But sometimes there's something something happens and you just, for whatever reason, can't go on, can't get there. It's not going to happen. And I was reminded, a friend of mine was working with a circus many years ago. And there are lots of little stories that come out of this. But he said they had to halt a performance one night, or actually they had to have a forced interval, because an act didn't turn up, and subsequently found out there was been an accident, stuck in traffic or whatever. Everyone involved was okay, but they couldn't make it, so they just couldn't go on. it happened to be the clowns. Uh, they were traveling together, which there were loads of things after that. It's like never put two clowns in the same car together. Then people were saying, well, did the wheels fall off, the door blow up, the engine,
Yeah, I
But,
mean,
yeah, his story was, and they all rolled up, they got there eventually, God knows what time in the early hours of the morning, and going, sorry guys, what can we tell you? We're here now.
But yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? And these things do happen. I mean, as you say, we've talked about sort of like things getting in the way before, and you had a vehicle sort of torn to pieces, didn't you? Like doors and wheels.
The wheels were nicks. Yes, yeah.
But you made it and did the show.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, there was literally no way around it. And I mean, I'm sure to an extent we've all experienced it in some way or another. I mean, I was filming the House That Zombies Built, which is due for release next year, very soon anyway. Horror movie. And I was on my way to filming and I was driving along and the car made a funny noise and it started to slow down. And at this point, I'm on the in the outside lane of the motorway going 70.
Oh, don't. Oh.
70 for the record. 70. I would never go above 70.
70.
But it was a little bit of a poo your pants moment. I'll be honest with you, mate, because
bloody right.
I'm in the outside lane of the motorway going 70, and all of a sudden I've got no power. Now, fortunately, it wasn't immensely busy, so I was able to safely indicate, pull over, and ended up on the hard shoulder. Turned the engine off, went to start it, and it just nothing. It's like, but there was no noise. There was no. I didn't detect anything at all. But essentially, it turned out the engine had, for want of a better term, shit itself. I ended up in a recovery truck, and then had a very, very sort of quick turnaround to try and find another vehicle. But that day, filming was absolutely written off. There was no way, and I don't think I managed the following day either. Fortunately, I was working for a very accommodating, very, very open, friendly, whatever you want to call them. The production team were brilliant. And I phoned him. I was like, "I'm really sorry, but there is no way.
Yeah, ain't no way.
A taxi's going to cost enormous amounts of money. Public transport just not possible. By the time I get to you, there'd be no point." And they were like, "Don't worry about it. We'll do different script pages. Like we've got certain actors in, we can work around." And they were really, really accommodating, really brilliant, and on the spot sort of went, "We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. We don't need you. We don't need you. We haven't got you, so we will work around that." But it's not always that simple, is it? I mean, we're lucky that I would say a lot of people in this industry are very, I was going to say creative, but that's shit because we are creative.
I know what you mean.
I'm looking for where you're sort of resourceful. I don't know, but essentially able to
problem solving, isn't it?
Yeah. So, for example, I was in a production of Rock of Ages, and which we've talked about a million times because it's my favourite show ever. But we had to pull a couple of preview shows. So we'd had some preview shows booked into our run for sort of like obviously for reviewers to come in and stuff like that. Both our leads managed to end up with laryngitis, would you believe?
Okay.
Yeah. So there was no way they could go on. But we had understudies, but if the understudies had gone on, then we would have lost other guys. And essentially that it just didn't make sense because of the tight-knit nature of that kind of production, because it was a very indie sort of level musical rather than sort of big, massive, high-end stuff with everyone with understudies. And in the end, we just pulled the previews and sort of shifted things along, and we opened to the general public rather than opening as a preview sort of thing. But it worked. But they're just a couple of examples of where absolutely that could not happen. There was no way around it. And I guess it's very difficult in this industry because, like any industry, it comes down to money. But rarely are you able to just sort of think on your feet and find a way around things.
I mean, there are. I mean, I've mentioned it before, but I was doing Panto one year, and the roof of the theatre leaks, making it dangerous to turn any water on or to turn any lights on because of water. So we had to cancel the show there. I mean, there are, and of course, I mean, I suppose the biggest was, the unwelcome guest where everything stopped, I mean, that's, the I mean, weren't you on your way to a job and you got turned
Yeah.
round or something, didn't you?
Weirdly, I hadn't actually clocked that one, but you're absolutely right. So the day that we went into full lockdown, which was it March 20?
It was March 20, yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I was driving to a job. Now we talked about it early doors of the podcast because we were still doing sort of immersive shows at times when we weren't in lockdown, but with sort of visors or whatever else to make sure
That's
that
right.
things were safe and the tables were distanced. It was only sort of groups of people that could, but things like that. There were lots of ways around elements of it to make sure that people were more safe than perhaps you would normally care to worry about, if that makes sense.
I
But yes,
do.
so I was on my way to do one of those jobs, and I had the call from our booker on the way, basically saying, uh, "We're going into lockdown. Everything's sort of been pulled. Go home."
Go home.
Yeah, and that was, as you say, probably the biggest sort of unavoidable thing. I had friends who were going to shows, and it literally stopped. They were in the foyer waiting to go into the
Yeah.
theatre, bought ice creams and programs, waiting to go and see a show, and they were like, "We're having to pull the show because so many people are ill, or because of lockdowns, or yada yada." We literally cannot go ahead, and it's a weird feeling, is that we've almost gone full circle back to February 2021, which is when the podcast first started, and we were talking about, oh my God, it's stopping us doing anything. And we're now talking about those things, but in a retrospective way, and going, how do you get around those? What do you do in those incidences where there is literally no way? You've just got to go, sorry, pulled. Look at is it the co-op arena? Um
Yes.
uh,
Yes. Yeah.
Manchester, isn't it? Is it Manchester?
Three false starts, wasn't it? Or
Yeah.
God knows how many false starts.
And there was literally no way around it because it was not safe. And you think financially that will have hit the company enormously because people will have to be given refunds.
Tens of
Because
thousands of people cancelled.
yeah,
Yeah.
mad. But there are those occasions. Obviously, it happens in all walks of life. There are things you can't avoid. You've just got to go with it. But who who is hit the hardest? Well, yes,
Yeah.
financially is a big player, but look at those audiences. What if you've got a family in one of those audiences that doesn't have much money? This is a gift, or this is something they've saved up for and ages now, and they've had to book work off, or they've had to change this, or they've had to do that. It's really sad that these things can come in and sort of halt things. Then you can't plan for them. I mean, you can insure theatre tickets these days, and
Mm.
we're still seeing that there are still COVID officers on set for films to make sure that people stay as well as possible. But there are those unavoidable things that just you go, what can we do?
But it's very rarely. I mean, I mean, people keep going. Actors, shows, productions keep going because of the audience, and not for the actors. I mean, many an actor would go, oh, "Okay, fine. If we can't do it tonight, we can't." But that never enters into most people's heads because we go, "We've got to do the show. We've got to do the show.
Yeah.
We've sold tickets. There are people waiting to be entertained."
Yeah.
And the idea of going, "Oh, I'll have the night off," never occurs to. I know of one, and it happened many years ago for a friend of mine who was a stage manager, and they were touring to very small community venues, and they got to a little theatre. I think it was only about 120, 150 seater. And they were there, and they're in the van. They've got the gear, and they're gonna go in, put the gear, boom, open, and away they go.
Yeah.
And the guy who had the key to the theatre had gone on holiday, and they couldn't. No one could get in. And the thing was, the guys were driving. He said that we were driving to the venue, and while we're happily poddling along in the van in the lovely countryside, going, "Oh, isn't it gorgeous here? Where's the? Oh, it's the." He said there was just pandemonium in the town because they're going, and they were going, "Well, just break open the locks." And they go, "Oh no, we can't do that. It's a listed building and can't." So yeah, they got to the point where, and the reason the show was called off wasn't in the end because they couldn't get into the building. The reason the show was called off was because someone decided it might be a good idea. Maybe if we break a window and climb in,
Yeah.
So someone tried to climb in and they got stuck. So the reason they couldn't start the show we can't get in the building, but the fire brigade are around the back trying to rescue this poor man, 30 foot, 40 foot up, who tried to get in the building. And they had to call the show off because that was
That's
his story,
insane.
And he said there we were, and we're ringing the producer going, we can't do the show. What do we do? And he's going, oh, what can we do? You can't go back. It's a 190. You're off somewhere else tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is crazy. I mean, we've talked before about things that make it difficult, and particularly weather. I'm sure we've talked a lot about weather, and I did a pantomime one year where a couple of shows were pulled because we couldn't. Number one, we couldn't get our vehicles out of the car park as the cast, let alone allow people to come in. And you always have. I mean, we live in the UK, or for you and I certainly do. People listening in may not do. And hello and welcome to anyone outside of the UK. Lovely to have you here. We know we are listened to on at least 6 continents because we have proof of that. Not so sure about the whether at the North Pole they managed to get Drewling Samantics. But if you are from the North Pole and tuning in, welcome.
And you know what we're talking about when we talk about that.
Yeah, but that was going to be my point. In the UK, we're shit because there's a little bit of wind, or we can't do that. Or there's a little bit of snow, we can't do that. Or it's really hot, we can't do that. It's raining, we can't do it. There is no weather where we go, well, it's all great.
That's all right, we go for it.
We'll find a problem, but yeah. So, and when you see things in places like Canada and like the snow's about 6 foot deep, and they're going, oh well, we'll just have to wear slightly bigger boots today. And you think,
put a thick jumper on.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think what sums that up better than anything else, and I'm going very much off on a tangent right now, but what sums that up better than anything else I can think of is the trains in the UK, or certainly in England. Like, there's leaves on the track because it's been a bit windy. Oh well, the train's delayed. It's
Wrong sort of leaves.
Oh, train's delayed. It's hot, so the track is swollen. The trains are delayed. There's been some snow. The trains are delayed. There's a day in the week. The trains are delayed. Excuses. In those, tends to be that things do go on to an extent, or there are ways around. And obviously, we're talking about those rare occasions where there is literally no alternative, no solution. You make it, but it is a bit of a shame in the UK that we're that sort of susceptible to things going wrong and not finding a way around it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you mentioned like any excuse. There are no excuses in the theatre. If someone don't turn up, I mean, I've seen producers go on with a script in their hand in a dreadful costume, going, "I'm very sorry about this. I'm the producer, but let's keep going." It very rarely stops us, and it has to be something dangerous or just somebody not there,
Am I right in thinking, I hope I'm not making this up, but I'm sure I either read or I saw a little while ago, didn't one of the producers or one of the writers of 6 go on, a guy, a man?
I think you're right.
I
think you're right.
For a production of 6, or I don't know whether it was like a concert version or something, but I'm sure there was a man playing one of the queens, or at least joining in. And it's that kind of do or die, the show must go on, like, we'll just make it work. And I would say, and I am not experienced in all industries in the world, but I would say of all of the industries, the one that I am most confident that we do our utmost and very best to keep things going regardless is the performance industry, because we always try and find a way.
It would be very interesting, obviously impossible to do, but it'd be very interesting to put up how many performances, a theatre in relation to, say, I don't know, trains or flights, air flights, and see who has the most cancellation, who cancels the most. And it's without doubt, it's going to be the transport industry. I mean, yes, they have more things happening, but I'd love to see someone do the math for that. Oh well, yes, of course, all right. That would just be brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. But you could compare it with sport, couldn't you? Like, there are lots of sports that sort of a bit of rain, no, we're stopping.
No,
and I guess obviously the majority of theatre is indoors. But actually, I'm about to go off on an open air tour. Now, and as Andy pointed out, if it rains, we don't bloody stop. We just go out there.
I was about to, but I didn't want to. If you pardon the pun, I didn't want to rain on your parade, but it may very well rain on your show, and you've got to keep going, buddy.
Mate, there's no very well about it. We know it's going to. We're in the UK right
Yeah,
now.
it's
The
true.
time of recording this, it's about 24 degrees outside where I am. I don't know if it's
Mm.
nice where you are. And
It is nice, yes.
we mention the weather quite a lot because we're British. It's what we do. But the sad fact is, I'm not quite into rehearsals yet. So why could it not rain now and then save this nice weather for when not rehearsals but performances? Like
Sod's law, mate.
I think we're doing somewhere between 50 and 60 performances total. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think 4 of them are inside. So the rest of them, if it could not rain, it doesn't have to be sunny. It doesn't have to be hot. But if it could just be dry, it could be cold. I don't care. I'm going to be in a suit. That's fine. But if it could just not be wet for once, I mean, and I say for once, I'm asking for basically 2.5 months of dry weather. Not going to happen. But
Well,
yeah,
you never know, my friend. I mean, we've had some very hot summers.
we
I
have
was
had some hot summers.
I was doing shows last year in 30 degrees in the shade in open air theatre. So put your factor 50 on, mate.
Well, yeah, and exactly that is the perfect example, isn't it? I'm going, please, please don't rain, and you're going, but it was really hot when I did it. Oh, I didn't like that either. But that is the way of the British. So just to cement, if anyone out there, as we said, is listening from somewhere other than the UK, just to confirm that stereotype. Yes, we talk about the weather all the time. Yes, we moan about it, whether it's hot, cold, wet, windy, snowing, any of it. We will find a way to moan about anything. But in this
But we will keep going if you're coming to see our shows.
Stiff upper lip, that British way. We'll moan, but we'll bloody do it anyway. What a revealing and absolutely ridiculous thing to talk about on a podcast that's all about.
That was no, it's got to be said. If we haven't said it before, we've said it now.
It absolutely has. And I tell you what, I think we're quite a good example of this because we are now 160-ish episodes in. Is that right?
It is something like that.
Somewhere around that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
this might be 159 actually. This episode going out now. Correct me if
you might be right,
people. But in that time, and I'm going to touch every bit of bloody wood I can see and whatever. I don't think we've ever missed a release, have we?
No, we've not. We've not.
No, not true. We delayed the start of one season by a week. But that was actually nothing to do with our availability and us wanting to change things around and upgrade and various other things. But yes, as it stands, touch wood, touch wood, touch wood, touch wood, we have always been on time and when we're expected, which I think is not a bad achievement for nearly 4 years of podcasting. And nearly 160 episodes. So what can you do, mate?
What can you do? Yeah. Well, I mean,
a better example.
I think the only thing we can do is turn up and do it again next week.
That's true, but shall we up the ante next week?
Oh, wait, do it outside? You mean?
No, I'm going to have bloody enough of that. No, I simply meant, should we bring in someone who is far more talented and entertaining than the two of us?
I think we should, mate. I think we should, absolutely. Let's have a guest.
Exactly. So join us next week, ladies and gents, for our latest guest, who will be far more charming, far better to look at, and just overall better than me and him in every single possible way.
God, I hope so.
I hope so, mate. It's guaranteed, isn't it?
True.
Unless there's other versions of us out there, our doppelgangers who are very much similar, and we bring them. Oh, can you imagine that? Two Drews, two Sams,
mate. No, mate, thanks. I mean, the world does not deserve two of you.
Yeah,
it really doesn't.
Enough.
What
we'll do for now, I shall raise a glass. You can raise a mug.
I'll raise me coffee.
Ladies and gents, as always, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this episode where we've talked about everything and nothing, as we always try to. Join us next week for our latest guest, who will be far, far more worthy of your time than we are. Not that we don't appreciate it, because obviously we do. But yes, please do come back next time. Until then, have a fantastic week. Enjoy the weather if it's good where you are. Commiserations if it's not. And if you're in the UK, moan whether it's good or bad. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.